This is the first microlecture in the next series, moving from listening to influencing, and will cover empathic and supportive confrontation. When we hear the word confrontation, we may think, really? How can that be helpful? Confrontation can feel like a very loaded word. During a counseling moment, we can use empathetic confrontation to help a client understand inner conflict, mostly by bringing conflicting beliefs or thoughts to the surface so they can perceive the conflict. This can potentially assist the client in developing new thoughts, beliefs, or feelings. To do this, we can lean on and bundle several of our previously learned microskills, as you see here. Given that our field is heavily focused on improvement of skills, many of us would probably automatically jump several steps and move quickly to highlighting the positive, encouraging the client to look on the bright side, or move directly into our familiar fixing role. Notice that, though, in a counseling moment, most of what we're doing is observing and acting as a reflective partner. So, as usual, we start with listening. Empathic listening allows us to hear and be non-judgmental, a crucial part of this microskill that maintains the therapeutic relationship. This can help avoid clients feeling like they are on the spot. In order to do this, we may need to suspend our own beliefs, opinions, and values in order to hear the client's message and to step into their shoes. This doesn't mean that we give up on our beliefs and values. It simply means that a non-judgmental approach to listening allows us to hear both the client and maintain the therapeutic alliance with them. As the client speaks, observe their words, their nonverbal communication, and the emotions attached to the conflict and the content. Perhaps a client post-CVA feels that they will never have a positive quality of life despite making steady progress. Or a client post-TBI lacks insight, feeling like they can go back to work while also struggling with essential skills such as executive functions. Then we can use our skills of paraphrasing content, reflecting emotions, and summarizing the conflict so the patient hears their conflict clearly. It's important to be gentle, age-appropriate, and culturally sensitive with our language, as this can be very challenging for clients. We want to do our best to include a both-and approach. For instance, I hear you saying that you want to go back to work for Amazon, and I also observe you becoming angry and frustrated during activities that require you to manage multiple activities at once. Is this something that you also recognize? Note that there is an on the one hand and on the other hand aspect to this, and then a check-in at the end. This gives the client additional power to verify the correctness of your interpretation, to give a helpful correction, or to take a moment to process and develop further insight. Then we might encourage the client to think more deeply about this conflict to see if hearing it aloud has spurred any new ideas. The point is not to tell unless we need to, more on that later, but to allow time and space for client insight and therefore empowerment. Ideally, we'd like for the client, if possible, to come up with a solution on their own. We might say, how do these two desires or experiences relate to one another? What might it mean to go back to work at a point where managing multiple things at a time is overwhelming? A helpful framework for providing your own feedback if needed is, I worry, I wonder. For example, I worry that going back to I worry that going back to work with all the competing demands may be overwhelming and increase your stress. Stress can actually make executive functions worse. I wonder if considering a gradual return or slightly different work demands might be more successful. Would it be helpful to problem solve what that might look like? If you are interested in learning more about this I worry, I wonder approach, please listen to the podcast SLP's Role in Palliative Care in Module 5 for more information about using this script. This week, explore empathetic confrontation if you hear a patient with conflicting thoughts or beliefs around their communication or swallowing challenge or their feelings about it. Start with empathic listening and observation. Use paraphrasing, reflection, and summarizing to provide an accurate, on the one hand and on the other hand, summary for the client. Following this summary, check in with the client to assure your accuracy and give them an opportunity to process, reflect, develop insight, and provide more information. It's possible that when hearing their conflict clearly stated, they may begin to shift their beliefs and thoughts. You can always use the I worry, I wonder framework to provide further support for the conversation.